Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Literary Circle. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So, of course, we've got to save the best for last. So these last couple power sessions that we had today with social media, now we have this amazing panel with Mr. Terrence Pitt, Mr. Rod Downey Jr., Bowie State, HBCU, all right, and Miss Wanda Durant. Wanda Durant. So, right after, right after, we'll be followed by, we've got an action pack. Just stick around the Alpha Pavilion. Mother Fletcher is here. Look, we've just got amazing programming. We're so excited about it. Let me get off the stage, and without any further ado, let's do this first. Thank you all for coming.
Welcome. Hello, everybody. My name is Terrence Pitts. I'm the founder and co-owner of Pitts and Fresh Sports Talk Radio. I am also the owner of Pitt Sports Zone, Bowie TV, Comcast Channel 77, Verizon Channel 11. We thank you for joining us today because today is a very important near and dear conversation when it revolves around HBCUs. I'm grateful to have my panelists, Dr. Wanda Durant and Dr. Rod Downey Jr., Athletic Director of Bowie State University. I will first start by giving you an introduction of what our conversation will be today. So when I say HBCUs are near and dear to me, it's truly near and dear. So the topic of today is called The Rise, the Awareness, the Impact of HBCU Sports. And we're going to focus on three areas. We're going to talk about the culture of HBCU sports. We're going to talk about funding and recruiting, and we're going to talk about media exposure. So before we get into our segments, I would love if you can share a little bit about yourselves to our listeners and audience before we get into our discussion. Dr. Durant, if you would go first.
Yes, my name is Wanda Durant. Kevin Durant, two-time NBA basketball champion, two-time Finals MVP is my son. Thank you very much. I am somewhat of the matriarch of my little immediate family, and I am the president of our family foundation. I lead the foundation for the directives that God has imparted to Kevin for him to carry out in the communities which God has assigned for him to serve, and I do that with the team of my sister, our New York office, and close family friends. We have Team Durant, which is a basketball program. We have two of our students who have gone to Bowie State, and two of our students who have been drafted into the NBA. We have a college track program which follows teams from 9th grade plus 10 years, helping them first generation college students, helping them to get into college and earn a 4-year bachelor's degree. And we follow them through college. If they want to go to graduate school, we follow them there. If they want to pursue a career after college, we help them there with finding a place to stay, purchasing a car, purchasing a home, whatever their direction is. And so we find that if we stay connected to the youth and help them through the processes of life, they have a better chance of success. So that's a little bit about what I am and what I do.
Wow, that's a lot to follow up on. I think I should let you go first, Mr. Downey.
No, ladies first, and it's a pleasure to be on this stage with you, Terrence, and especially Miss Durant, who we haven't seen in a long time.
Since yesterday.
My name is Rod Downey Jr. I'm currently the Vice President of Education, Athletics, and Recreation for Bowie State University, the oldest HBCU in the state of Maryland. I am a native New Yorker, played Division II basketball at New York Institute of Technology. I started my administrative career at New York Institute of Technology in 1982. In 1988, I was named an AD there, and I stayed there until 2014 until I started my career or my tenure here at Bowie State University in January 2015. The goal is not sports. The goal is academic excellence, student success, and ensuring the long-term availability of the great university which we know as Bowie State University.
Amazing. And as he stated, it's student athlete first, which is correct. It's student first, athlete second. Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into our first segment, which is the culture. Mr. Downey Jr., this is to you. What motivated you What motivated you to want to bring your talents to HBCU?
You know, it's interesting, Terrence, because when I grew up in New York, I didn't know much about HBCUs. My cousins went to Howard. I heard about Cheney. I just thought there were colleges like we had in New York. I didn't know there was a history behind these colleges like I do today. So when I was fired from New York Institute of Technology, my roommate was the dean at Bowie State University. He called me up and said, look, we got a position out here, would you be interested? Of course I came down, I applied, and I was blessed to get the job. Dr. Mickey Burnham hired me. So then I began to understand the culture. Doing my doctoral work, my thesis was on the CIAA and the culture of the student athlete within that HBCU environment. So it's taken me 9 years to really understand fully what I've involved with and how to manage the culture of something that started in 1865 in the basement of a church in Saratoga and Calvert in the city of Baltimore. It's a very interesting culture because you have to understand that the reason why HBCUs existed because there was no opportunity for people to go to school. There was no opportunity for sports or anything else. So the sports part started out of the educational part. We started as a normal school. And from a normal school, then we transitioned to a college, and now we transitioned to a university. And we continue to have our relevancy in society. So the culture is very unique. You have your old folks, not old, I would say old, but your the old alumni who didn't have much, who take considerable amount of pride in the university because they were given an opportunity that they couldn't go to UNBC, they couldn't go to Towson, they couldn't go to the University of Maryland. So now they understand and trying to get the young folks to understand and value what they have currently. So that culture is very important to me because now I understand why, as a black male, that I was an athletic director at a white institution because a lot of folks had to persevere through tough times for me to have an opportunity.
Wow. And for you to go through that, I apologize, for you to go through that, how did that play with your psyche? Like, wow, like for you to go through that process to get to the HBCU?
Well, you know, it's unique because the first thing I did when I came on campus was I went around to the students. You can ask people that work there, of course they're going to say it's a great place, but you ask the students how they feel about their university, and to their credit, each student loved being at Bowie State University. So that was my first part of understanding the culture. But then understanding the history and trying to marry what we're doing today and what they've gone through, that was the transition part that I'm still unpacking, still working through, getting to understand, because there's that deep feeling of pride in Bowie State University. Now we've ascended to our new thinking student who doesn't think like we used to think. You know, this new generation has a different way of approaching things. So we have to match them with technology, how they see things, how they function. So the culture is evolving. It's always evolving, and that's where we're at right now, T.
Wanda Durant, can you describe what HBCUs mean to you, and how did this relationship with Bowie State forge? I know it started young. Kevin, you started playing until now, but can you expound a little bit on what that meant to you, as for HBCU as a parent, and just that process and the development of the relationship that you have accomplished with Bowie State University?
Sure. My understanding of Bowie State University and all HBCUs is that they were institutions that were created by our ancestors because they were not allowed in the mainstream form of higher education during their time. And then when I was a younger woman, I didn't really understand the significance of them. But now that I'm older, I see their value. And one thing that I've noticed is that when our schools are talked about in the mainstream, they don't highlight the academic excellence that our school expects from their students. And so that's one of the things that I think need to be heightened. And the reason for our relationship at the Durant Family Foundation with Bowie State University is because it's the oldest HBCU in Maryland, and it was my son's first introduction to an HBCU, it was just merely playing basketball at the gym. And my mom made him aware of some of the history of Bowie State. And so many years later, he wanted to give to a university, and so quite naturally it was Bowie State University because, and then we recently learned that federal or state funds, I mean federal funds, governmental funds, I should say, do not support the athletic program. And so, yeah, we do like these schools and we do talk about them with an endearing heart, but we as a community, we feel must financially support them because they don't get the support of the mainstream or the Ivy League schools. I'm not sure if we have endowments at Bowie State University, but those are the things that we as a community need to start focusing on.
And it's very important. One of the things that you said was in regards to I call it the misconception of HBCUs, because when it comes to the education side, that's something that is natural. The outsiders, to me, what I call outside noise, it'll be individuals who have not attended an HBCU that will put out a narrative. So when you talk about the education side, because like at Bowie State, a lot of their athletes are graduating on time. You know,
Yes, of course.
So those are things that are not talked about.
And the athletes have to exhibit academic excellence to even be a part of a program. And that's the negative narrative that's around HBCUs. But when you think about our community, historically, education was our focus outside of God, of course, our focus to not have to depend on any other culture for our success. And if we remember back in the day, my parents, they commanded excellence from us. That was a great expectation. So we as a community have to command excellence from young people and believe that they can rise to that expectation. And so I think we as a community have to change the narrative around attending an HBCU. And then the HBCUs have to also understand that the importance of recruiting and pursuing students and letting students know that yes, we are an excellent institution. It is up to us to carry that culture wherever we go after graduation.
And she kind of transitioned into our next segment, which is actually recruiting and funding. And I'm going to go ahead, Mr. Dowdy, if you can explain the difference between the public university and a private university.
You know, and I don't want to expand one thing on what Mr. Durant said about the suppression and funding historically. PWIs suppressed HBCUs for a long time for their benefit. They can't do it no longer because we're able to tell our story. We don't have to go to ESPN. We don't have to run to CBS or ABC. We have social media to tell our story now. We got folks like you putting us out there. So HBCUs now are getting the recognition and the notoriety that we've been missing because suppression, discrimination. So we're moving in a direction now that is going to allow us to be exposed. And you can see the academic excellence that is coming out of each of these universities, that we need to tell our story and tell it in a way that relates to the rest of society. So now getting back to your question about the private-public sector, and Mrs. Durant hit upon that already. There's schools in the Maryland system. University of Maryland, UMBC, Coppin, Towson, University of Baltimore, Salisbury, Frostburg, UMBC, UMGC, and the University of Shady Grove. Any of those schools that have athletics do not receive any state funding from the state of Maryland. Our revenue, our budgets are based upon student fees. So every year, the athletic directors have to go in front of the students and ask them to support the athletic program. Now, we're not up in the level when you are University of Maryland. They're in a whole different stratosphere. So schools like myself, Frostburg, Salisbury, are very dependent upon those student fees to function. So gifts like The Kevin Durant family $500,000 gift to renovate our gymnasium is one of the most important aspects that we can receive as an athletic department, because now we're able to take those resources and make upgrades to our facilities. Other than that, it's a real struggle to get those fundings in. So now it's a baseline now. They set the bar, and we're expecting to work a lot more with the foundation and a lot of other areas to bring notoriety. When recruits come on, with not only just athletic recruits, but when people visit the school, we bring them to the gym and they go, wow. That's the first thing they say now, wow. Because it looks like a pro arena. It's a little pro arena. Without 3,000 seats, it's a little pro arena. The lights are shining. Kevin's name is on the floor. Hey, I might not know Kevin, but I played on his name right here. I walked on his name. So it's a big deal. So that resource part is very, very important for us to have. And I'm quite sure now that other people are coming to the table. When the school, people talk about, well, you got all this money coming into Bowie. You got the coalition dollars, the big lawsuit. We don't see any of that. They got other gifts that are coming in that's very specific. So I have to go out and work with my philanthropic engagement department to say, look, this is what we need to do. Now, really quick, state of North Carolina has just allowed in legislation to have resources go to athletics from the state budget. I hope Maryland follows suit in that area.
And before I get to you, Dr. Durant, I want to kind of piggyback on something that you said. And I think this is also a misconception or a mischaracterization when it comes to the administration of HBCUs, because a lot of students will rap as Bowie State, and I'll hear mumbles and say, oh, well, they just built a new entrepreneur building, and they have this building going up. But it's a very good, that's clarity, because it's not that funds are being misappropriated. It's that when it comes to schools such as Bowie State, if the funds are not directly stated that it is for the athletic department or athletic involvement, then it does not get to be divided, and the athletic department does not get a piece of that pie. Am I correct?
You're absolutely right. And also, too, state funding is shrinking up also, too. Maryland's gone through a deficit this year. So we don't get as much state funding as one would think. So we are dependent upon our enrollment. We can need folks to come to school. And we've got our highest enrollment at Bowie State University at 6,490 students this year.
Bite down.
Yes, bite down.
Bite down.
So we are moving in the direction of influencing. We're moving in the direction of notoriety. Our standards are going up. You just can't walk in and say, I want to go to college. You got to have those GPAs in place to be part of it. Our programs are taking off. Nursing, business department, computer science, cybersecurity. Big deal. 300,000 jobs across the country are vacant right now. I tell anybody, if you know how to do a computer, you can come out here with a 6-figure job in our cybersecurity agency. So that's where our focus is at, and that's what we're trying to build.
Dr. Durant, the Durant Family Foundation recently has stated provided Bowie State Athletic Department with $500,000, in which they renovated the gym. And can you take us through the steps and how that decision came about?
Well, the decision came about because Kevin wanted to give to the HBCU, right? So it was just an idea we want to give to the HBCU. And so, quite naturally, when Bowie State came up in this, in the discussion, it was an immediate yes that it would be Bowie State. And that's just how simple it was. And so then the relationship, they had to figure out all the nuances of making that happen. And then it happened, and it was just so simple.
Mr. Downey, what were your emotions and thoughts when it came across your desk that this donation would be presented to you guys?
Well, any decision that is made or any type of project happen, it germinates. I always tell people everything is a seed. It germinates in the ground, you gotta water it, and then the grass grows. And so this grass has grown. It started off with a basic discussion, as Mama Durant said, between the foundation members, Jose, Rich, the people that run and help Mama Durant with the foundation. So we worked out the details, and we continue to work out the details until we came to a point where this is going to be decided upon, and this is how we're going to function within the framework. We ask for a lot more, that's what you do.
We swing for the fence.
We swing for the fence. We were trying to hit 3-run home run on one swing. So, but we came up really well with our home run, and it's going to evolve. working already. We had the Durant AAU team in this summer, the elite camp. Kevin came down, and he was like one of the kids, you know, running around, jumping, playing. So that's what we're looking for, that type of engagement with folks on that level. So it started someplace, and it's not ending nowhere, someplace, not ending soon. And we would look to see for years and years and years now, beyond my time at Bowie, that Kevin Durant's phone would be there, and a lot of other things that Kevin Durant is going to do, the foundation, the Mama Durant are going to do for Bowie.
For you, how would you pose that question?
You know, it's each one teaching. We talked about the Kevin Durant, we talked about the Byron Allens, but look at this room. We need everyone to contribute. We need everyone to send their children to an HBCU or consider an HBCU. There's folks that live in PG County said they never heard of Bowie State University, they never went to Bowie State University. We have to get beyond that. We have to understand that we have to reach out, touch these people, get them at the early stages. We can't wait till they get in high school. We have to start in the elementary school. That's why I'm on a mission to have youth come to Bowie State University for games. The athletics is the hook to get them on campus, to see the beauty of the campus, to interface with all of the positive students, the professors, the administrators, so they can talk about, hey, this is a nice place to be. My goddaughter from New York came to Bowie State University for a visit. She's in love with the place. So that's the exposure that we have to have moving forward. It's each one teach one.
And before we move forward, I definitely I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Dr. Bro and all of that she has done and implemented in the success of Bowie State. Can you just share what Dr. Bro means to Bowie State?
Well, as the first female president and the 10th president of Bowie State University, she has brought a mindset that we're not going to fail. Our strategic plan is racing to excellence. And every day she gets out there and she's methodically working with all of the campus community, all of the BSU community, all the constituents in the government, alums, corporations, to expose them to BSU University, to BSU. She is a wonderful individual. She's driven, she's successful, she's extremely intelligent. She understands the dynamics of how to accomplish things. She gets out in the community, she's engaged with folks. So we all just follow her lead right now, and we try to keep up with her because she has a lot of energy. But it's a blessing that where she's at Bowie State University right now.
I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention that she was voted, I believe it's multiple Athletic Director of the Year awards. I think, and I've said this with you before, it speaks to everything that you do, not just physically or literally, but behind the scenes when it comes to the athletic department and the student athletes, because you're not just graduating your athletes on time at a high rate, you're also producing winners. Whether it's football, whether it's bowling, whether it's women's basketball, whether it's men's basketball, tennis, or track. There's so much success going on at Bowie State when it comes to the championships and things that's going on. How do you maintain such a high level of success across the board year in and year out?
Well, first and foremost, I love people. I mean, that's why we're here, and we should never forget that it's the most important commodity in the world. You know, life is a moment, and in that moment is that dash. And that dash, we must make sure that people get the kind of support and attention they need to be successful. So I work with some great people. We have our trials and tribulations like everybody else, but in the end of the day, we got to understand why we are in this space, to provide support and opportunity for young men and women so they can pursue their goals, their dreams. 2023, we still have first generation college students. It's amazing. You would never think that that would be in this space at this time, but it's true. So we have to navigate that and help them along so they understand why they're there. Not to run around and play sports, not to be in a sorority or fraternity, not to be in a band, and not to party. But all those things come along with a student experience. But the number one factor why you go to college is to get a degree in a timely fashion. I always tell my student athletes, you got 4 years of eligibility and 40 years to work someplace. What's the bigger picture? So let's get that straight before you even start. So you need that piece of paper. And what does that piece of paper get you? It gets you a seat in a room with 1,000 other people with a piece of paper. So what sets you apart from them when you're applying for a job? So I'm motivated by my staff. We're a small staff, we're hardworking, we understand the dynamics of what we have, we know what we don't have, but we work with what we have, and we make it work. Every year since I've been there, we've won a championship in one sport or the other. So that, I think, is attributed to the hard work of our coaches and our staff.
Absolutely. And speaking of the staff, shout out to Jolisa. We were remiss if I didn't mention Jolisa and all that she does behind the scenes. So, going forward, if you can, if you have a student out there who's watching and who's listening, and they're on the fence, and they're like, man, my senior year is coming up this year, next year, and I got to figure out where I want to go and what institution is going to propel me into adulthood, what would be your pitch to them?
Well, first, I would hope that a student as a senior doesn't wait to become a senior to figure out what they're trying to do. I want to get them early, 9th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, to have them start thinking about their opportunities. I want HBCUs to be in that space of thought where some folks only look at these schools that are marketing on TV or you see them on television and they don't think there's any other alternatives for them. I want them to understand there are alternatives. Yes, a lot of people are going to go to University of Maryland or Ohio State, but there's other opportunities for them also too. And where you can grow and seek opportunities and get the kind of support. Bowie State, you talked about the culture earlier. It's a very caring culture. It's a very culture that wraps their arms around people and let them know we care about you as a human being and we're going to get you through this because we know a lot of you have hardships that you're dealing with. So I would say to that senior, make sure you invest in yourself because you're the most important person in your life. If you don't take care of you, you can't do nothing for mama, daddy, and anybody else. So that's the first thing I always tell everybody, that you are the most important person in your life. It's not narcissistic, it's realistic, and you have to understand that. So once you get that, now what are you going to do with that opportunity you have to move on to the next level? What majors do you want to pursue? What do you want to be when you finish your college degree? I know a lot of people get in and change their degrees and things of that nature because they want to be an architect or want to be a nurse and they're not cut out for it. Also, too, they get a lot of pressure from their parents who are vicariously living through their lives and want them to be architects or engineers, and that's really not their forte. So we have to figure that out, and you have to be in a position to make decisions for themselves. You walk a path, you come to a decision-making process, which path are you going to take? And that lived experience has to dictate how you're going to move forward. So I just wrap my arms around that senior and say, what do you want to do and how you want to do it, and let me help you get there.
With that, we're going to go ahead and end our session, our panel. Again, my name is Terrence Pitts. I am seated next to the great, cool Mini Mac, Dr. Rod Downey Jr. And I am the founder, co-owner of Pitts and Play Sports Talk Radio, owner of Pitts Sports Zone, Bowie TV Sports, Comcast, Channel 77, Verizon, Channel 11. Again, our topic was the rise, the awareness and impact of HBCU sports. And I appreciate you as always. Thank you very much. Many more to come.
Here we go.
Fight down.
Fight down.